the Legends of Iron. I'm John Anderson. Meet my co-hosts, Nick Best and Akeem Williams. We're going to have some amazing guests on the show. Buckle up tight, because we're going to be talking about the shit you're not supposed to be talking about. We're going to be discussing anything and everything it takes to become a Legend of Iron.
Legends of Iron is brought to you by Muscle Mints. Muscle Mints is the creator of Carnivore Pure Beef Protein Icing. Beef builds muscle, and Carnivore is the world's #1 selling beef protein.
Welcome to another edition of Legends of Iron. I'm John Anderson. With me always, my partner's Nick Best. Unfortunately, Akeem Williams could not be here today, but we have got a killer show for you. We've got another dynamic duo. When I say another, we had another really strong couple. Well, I got to tell you, these guys, I'm telling you, it might be neck and neck. I don't know who's a stronger couple, but it's going to be fun to talk about. I'll tell you that much. A couple that lives together, stays together. Please welcome Brittany Diamond and Ben Pollack. How are you guys? Welcome to the show.
Pretty good. Thank you.
Yeah, we're good. Now we got this podcast figured out.
Well, hey, don't worry about it. When it comes down to anything technical, I am about as upside down as it gets. So you couldn't be any worse than I am. So we're all in the same boat here. You know, we can lift heavy shit. We don't know how to mess with computers and stuff. You know, that's what it kind of comes down to, right? So let's start off. Tell us how you guys met and became, you know, one of the world's strongest couples.
I slid in our DMs.
He successfully did, yeah.
Say that. I missed what you said. What did you say? What did you say?
He slipped into her DMs.
And I was used to him, but it worked.
She really wasn't that mean.
So what happened? You guys just started talking on social media?
Yep.
I think I tell the story better.
Okay. Good.
He was doing one of those guy things where he's trying to get my attention by like liking stuff and replying to stories. And I'm like, what is this? What does he want? I'm like, yeah, he's strong, he's cool, but like he's just being annoying in the DM. And so finally I answered because he was smart. Well, he is smart. He said something about how I had failed the Hatfield squat, and he said like that requires some mental toughness. So my reply was, okay, well, I'm answering you, Ben. So do you have any secret wife, girlfriend, fiance, anything you want to tell me about? Because we all know how DMs are.
I like how she pretended to wasn't interested when she kept like replying back.
I mean, it took a while to reply back.
Like a minute.
No, there was a couple DMs. I have proof.
This is exactly what having a couple's on. You guys are doing just literally talking. This is perfect, because what I tell you, there are people all over the country and the world that look at you guys as, you know, you're big, you're strong, you've both accomplished a lot. And all they want to do is hear you guys talk like you're doing right now. So this is really cool. So ultimately, you guys meet on social media. How long did it take to go from, you know, the social media world to the in-person world?
Oh, that was a while. That was like 2 months.
Okay. So describe the first meeting in person.
So she picked me up from the airport. My flight got delayed because of weather, and she had gotten kicked out of her apartment. I still don't really understand why that happened. And so we get back to her place.
It's going to be a good show. This is good stuff.
You got kicked out of your apartment.
We're wild cards. I'm just going to throw that out. Everything in this podcast, me and Ben, including how we entered this podcast today, which is why it's the clearest picture. We're throwing all the wild cards. So I'll let Ben continue.
So, oh yeah. So we get back to her place at like 2 a.m.
Not my place.
Okay.
My friend's place that let me stay. So I was having a guy visit.
So,
real quick, Ben, you actually took a flight just to go see her, correct? Or were you doing an appearance somewhere?
Well, yeah. So it wasn't just to go see her. We were also going to. My buddy Taylor was supposed to do a show in Charmin show in Pennsylvania, and ended up dropping out, but decided to stay with the girl. That, you know what? It's a long story. I'm gonna skip that part. We got back to our apartment at like 2 a.m. and I hadn't eaten in like 6 hours, and she gave me an edible, and I'm kind of a lightweight, so I got really, really high.
You took an edible on an empty stomach.
Yes.
Oh, mercy. Oh, mercy. Yeah, I feel your pain there. Even on a full stomach, that's still going to hit like a ton of bricks.
It's a fun one.
I brought you rice cakes and tuna, but you refused them.
So you guys are in your first time together in person, and Ben, you're just basically high as a kite, right? How did this unfold?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So how did this unfold?
Brittany,
I'm saying you guys are trying to you're trying to communicate, but you're pretty messed up. Brittany, were you also on edible too, or were you sober trying to communicate with someone that was not? Don't worry about it.
I decided to take one too, but I'm not as much of a lightweight as Ben is.
Gotcha. Okay.
I put Animal Planet on because I didn't know what else to do, and I have like this adrenaline rush going because I never met someone. Yeah, my phone's ringing. Okay.
Just let it go. Just let it go.
We're moving in about a month, and my phone's on Do Not Disturb, so the only person that can get through is like the apartment people. So
we're actually moving in with Nick.
Yeah.
There you go. That's perfect.
Yeah.
He's got a spare room.
Yeah. I figured you got to have one somewhere.
Yeah, we do have a spare room. Yep.
So you guys are both. So Ben, you're really, really messed up. Brittany, you're kind of messed up, and you guys are watching Animal Planet.
Yep.
Correct. Perfect. So this is the first encounter together. Actually, sounds like quite a lot of fun. Did you guys?
It was a blast. Yeah, then we drove like 8 hours to Pennsylvania. Stayed at some Amish Airbnb, and then
it just keeps getting better and better. I love it. This is good stuff.
Great. Shout out to Incognito Pleasures.
So how did you guys find that out?
Yeah, that's a good question.
How did we find it out?
Yeah.
Oh, well, we got in the Airbnb, and there were business cards all over. And in the bathroom, the shower light was like a strobe light, like when they have the royalties and shit. Yeah, so that kind of set us off.
Interesting.
So
you guys, sounds like you guys kind of just clicked because you're in weird situations, but you're having fun, and that's what tells you you're with the right person. Is that kind of what it comes down to?
That's been pretty much the last 4 months. Yep.
There we go. So you real quick, are you saying, forgive me, are you saying you guys have been together for 4 months?
March, April, May, June. Yep.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I didn't know you guys were so fresh out of the gate. Well, you guys hold yourself like a couple that's been together for years. This is perfect,
That's what been for a lot,
so. Right on. Okay. So you guys are both high-end athletes. Do you guys find that that's helpful that you're both high-level athletes, or do you find it sometimes it's more of a pain? I've been into both sides of that with relationships before. How does it play out for you guys?
That's a good question. I think that right now we're both kind of in between prep for any type of show or competition, anything. So it hasn't been as much of a factor in a relationship as you might expect.
Yeah.
I think it's helpful, even just like with everyday life, like Ben said, we're in kind of an in-between stage. But, I can go to the gym for a couple hours and he's not like, where are you? Or what are you doing? Or, we don't really eat together because we're on our own schedule. So things like that, it's just easy.
Yeah. There's no question having somebody, being in a relationship with somebody who understands, what you're willing to do to get where you want to go is helpful. But obviously that at the same time, that can also it can work both ways. So it sounds like where you guys are right now, it's working in your favor. So that's cool. Very cool. So Ben, let's drop into your background a little bit. Obviously, you've accomplished a lot. Give us a kind of a quick, how did it start? Obviously, Brittany, you're going to have the same question, so we've got to hear how this all started for both of you guys.
I started lifting for wrestling in high school, and was not a very good wrestler. Enjoyed lifting a lot more.
Brother, that is my story to the T. I was better lifting weights than all the sports I was lifting the weights for. That's how.
Yep.
I understand it.
So I was like, I was kind of serious about it, but like I never even thought about competing or anything. That was all through high school, undergrad, and then first couple years after graduating, I was working for Freddie Mac and then Google, and I really wasn't enjoying what I was doing at all. So I started looking at graduate school programs, and I found one at the University of Texas that was about the history of physical culture. So the history of powerlifting, bodybuilding, strongman, and everything in between. And reached out to the director of the program, Jan Todd, became my advisor. And so if you guys know Jan, things kind of went from there. So she runs the Arnold Strongman show, and very influential in powerlifting back in its earlier years. And after our first phone call, she ended the call saying, "Okay, Ben, I got to go. Kaz is here," like referring to Bill Kazmaier. Like, at that time, I didn't know anybody. And it's just like, "Oh, okay. Well, hopefully, I'll see you soon."
Well, it just tells you that you made the right decision with your choice of studies. You were in the right place. You know?
Yeah, definitely. That's kind of what got me into competing more seriously, and things kind of went from there.
Very cool. Brittany, what about you?
I started lifting in middle school. I would go to the high school because I wanted to get faster at track. That was my sport. And I wanted a bigger upper body. So I pretty much just did squats and bicep curls. And I was always just fascinated with learning about strength. I actually thought I would be more into the bodybuilding side of things until I discovered strongman right after college. So I was a Division I rower. I did not go to school for anything fitness related. I was actually business and journalism, wanted to be a reporter. And and then a series of events and competing just kind of led me to where I am now.
Very cool. It just kind of like natural unfolded, huh?
Exactly. Yeah.
Once you discovered how strong you were, you thought, well, shit, it's silly not to put this out to the world, and off you went. Yeah. Very cool.
I always just like documenting strength training in general. Like Instagram was more of like a journal. And I wanted to help other women, not do so much of the same thing and like learn to get under heavy weight. So that's kind of how it unfolded for me.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I mean, it's crazy. There's so many, we all have stories about what got us here, and they're all unique and they're all inspiring. So it's great to hear you guys both had kind of your own pathways into what you're doing. And now together, so you guys, going back to your relationship, so you guys are only been together for a little while, but are you actually living together now?
Yep.
I moved cross country 6 weeks ago.
Wow.
Very cool.
Oh, that's
very
awesome.
Cool. Well, I mean, just like everything that, in extreme sports, if you're going to do it, you might as well do it all the way, right?
Pretty much our mentality, yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense in the middle. It's either on or it's off. In the middle doesn't make sense. So right on, man. That's good shit. I'm sending positive vibes here. I mean, we need more couples like you guys. So it's just really fucking cool. Really cool.
Yeah. So what did you think of the dip contest?
I was pretty impressed, man.
That was a lot of fun. So 2 years, Brittany and I have done a dip contest at Clash, and this year we kind of got after it. So it was a lot of fun. It was good stuff.
Well, you got to tell the story. You can't just give a little snippet like that, especially since it's got history. Tell the story, Nick.
Well, go ahead, Brittany.
So it was 2 years ago. Nick and I are working the Clash Strongman contest, and we've been helping athletes all day. We finally found a gym. It's called Lava Fitness. I was like, okay, it can't be that bad. So we walk in. We have Martines. We had Rob Kearney.
Yep.
Sonia. So there's like 6 large humans, I guess I'll call us, walking into this gym that seems like a commercial gym, but there is a back to it that kind of has like some normal equipment. So we're all being very competitive. We called it tricep day, right? So we're doing like, I don't know, Nick, what were you close grip benching like 405 with your torn pec?
Yeah.
Or torn lat, excuse me.
With my torn lat, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. So we're just doing grip contest, pull-up contest, and we decided to just do a body weight dip contest. And me and Nick pretty much killed everyone. So we just decided to make it an annual tradition.
Yeah.
I like it. So what? So let's talk about. There were 6 of you guys. You and Nick were on the top. Who was better, the two of you guys?
We
Brittany
tied the
was
first year.
You literally tied.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But-
You'd
We
think
tied
of
the
all the
first-
play of all the rep. It's not like it's a, that's crazy. So so you literally tied. Then what about the people below you? Who was next?
I don't even remember because they weren't anywhere near us. So
No, it wasn't even like their second place
I think-
wasn't even second
I think
place.
Trey got what, like 10, 12?
yeah, Sonia didn't do it, and Martine's got a lot of pull-ups, but I don't remember what he got per dips. Not a lot.
Mm-mm.
Ben,
Yeah,
were
he-
you watching the second year? Were you part of the second year? Were you watching, or were you actually participating?
I
He
was
killed it.
sympathetic.
Well, then you got to. What happened? I'm sure you put down some big numbers. Shit, you're a very unique individual, strong as an oxen with the physique you got. I'm sure that you didn't just roll over for this competition of dips.
Well, we go into this gym, and so there's like the back room's actually pretty nice, and like Nick is there. This is my first time meeting them, and I'm like,
Mhm.
well, what the hell am I supposed to do to impress Nick Best when like I'm like we got off
Other
the
than
plane
having-
like
other
half
than
an hour
having
ago.
these-
Like there's no way I can squat anything. So they have a hack squat thing. So I just pull up my shorts as high as I can so my quads look good, and just do a bunch of hack squats. And then I'm like, okay, Ben, we're gonna go do a dip contest, and I can't even breathe. Right, like it's 1,000,000 degrees in South Carolina, and they're like, okay. I'm like, sure, whatever. I'll give it a shot. The whole time I'm so hot, I'm trying not to pass out. So I'm just telling myself to breathe and breathe, and they're counting in the back. And they get to like 30 or 40. I'm like, oh, that's pretty good. And that's really all I remember. Nick won. He was very impressive.
Nick, what did you get? 52.
53. I got one for every year.
Oh, there we go, baby.
Yeah.
There we
you
go.
got 47, Ben. Just
47.
yeah,
Nice.
you did 47. I remember
Yeah, I was going to
that
say
part.
something tells me that he wasn't that far behind. That's just the nature. He's playing coy. I love it. He sits back.
No, he did so
way-
many. I had to throw it into like another gear.
Yeah, I was going to
and
say, see,
like another
you can
frame of
see
mind.
it. You can see it the way that he's sitting back. He's got a big T-shirt on. He's just trying to kind of fly into the radar. The reason we have you on here, brothers, because we want to exploit what a crazy son of a bitch you are in a good way. So
Well, thank you.
feel free to boast a little bit.
I'll lean forward. Make myself look bigger.
Yeah, there you go. No. His legs are so big, dude. John, his
Bro,
legs are
I-
gargantuan.
We've never met in person, but I've seen. He put some pretty crazy training videos up.
Oh,
So
yeah.
let's talk about some max numbers. You guys are both crazy strong. What's your ladies first?
For what lift? Because strongman's mine.
What? Just go with your favorite to least favorite. How's that?
Okay. Favorite is Atlas Stones.
Okay.
And my best lift in competition was 300-pound stone, which Nick was right there for me.
Mhm.
And then best training was 330 to 52 inches.
Nice.
That was a pretty big one for me. Yeah, I was pretty excited
Yeah.
about that. So stones forever
Good.
my favorite. I've done a
Yeah.
700 yoke for 60 feet, under 10 seconds.
Mhm.
Farmers 240 per hand, 60 feet, which beats most of the men because my grip is better.
I love it. I love it.
And then I'll get squat, my best squat ever, 425, bench 245, 250, I didn't lock out total, deadlift 475, and I think that's everything. Strict press 150 for two.
Nice.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So many of the male listeners, because we're almost all male audience, are listening to this going, damn it. I wish that I could do some of those numbers. All right. So Ben, what do you got? You're crazy strong and you got the physique to back it up, which is even better because there's one thing to be strong. There's another thing to be strong and look fucking good when you're doing it. You got both those covered, brother. So let's hear you start spitting out some numbers.
My best meet, I went 799 squat, 424 bench, and 815 deadlift at 198. And really, other than the bench, I haven't done much more than those. I've squatted 805 in the gym, and I've tripled 815 on deadlift. And I've been 45.
That's where we got that beautiful deadlift face that you always post.
Yep.
That's good shit right there, brother. I love it. So obviously now wrap bodybuilding into this. How does bodybuilding enter the equation?
For me, I was trying to stay in the 181 class for powerlifting to put up some numbers there. And it was just so small for me. I kept getting hurt. I was eating like nothing and still training heavy and probably too often. And I just got frustrated and was like, okay, I gotta take a break from this, do something else. So I started. I did my first bodybuilding show in the summer of 2019 in Classic, and didn't do very well. I got 10th at Nationals that year, and don't have the right structure for Classic, so tried going up. Competed as a super heavy in 2020 and did about the same. I got 8th at Nationals that year. And then last year I got my pro card at USA's as a super.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the contest to get it in right there. Once you get your pro card in the USA's, you're on the map. There's no other way to look at it. Have you competed as a pro? How many times have you competed?
I haven't competed as a pro yet.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. So after that, after USA's, I was already signed up to do a powerlifting meet, the Pioneer Open. Pioneer is one of my sponsors. And I ended up tweaking my quad, not anything bad or anything, but it was like a month out and I didn't have time to really rehab it very much. So I think I took 300 on squat down 300 kilos, so 660, I think. And bench 464. So it was like a bad meet. But since then I've been kind of wavering, going back and forth on what I want to do next. So that's the reason at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Bodybuilding, obviously a prep for bodybuilding is kind of a different creature. Do you talk to us about how do you deal with that? Is it something that you kind of get into and you kind of embrace, or is it something you just kind of hold your breath and get through?
Oh no, prep is easy. I love prep. Like I have a fast metabolism, so like dieting is super easy. Like I feel comfortable during prep. Off season is miserable. I just have to eat so much, and like I've had to cut back on my training because I was training not even that much, like 5 days a week. But like that was just too much for me to be able to get enough food down. So yeah, the prep is way easier and more fun for me than trying to put on size.
So this is where listeners are going. That son of a bitch. He can eat whatever he wants. He doesn't have hard time getting lean. He's fucking cock strong, and he's got this hot chick to his right. God damn it, this guy's really pissing me off. And that's a huge compliment to you, brother. That's cool stuff, man. Yeah.
Not whatever he wants.
What's that?
He's the only bodybuilder I've ever met. He sticks to his meal plan. So we ate ice cream for the first time this past weekend.
Wow. The interesting thing about sticking to your diet, it actually really helps in terms of building. When you're constantly tracking, you have a much better grip on what it takes to put on good tissue. Your diet's loose, you don't really know exactly where to go from point A to point B. So tracking your diet like that is actually really helpful, obviously, on both sides of the fence. So I totally get it. Let's talk about your diet. So Ben, obviously you're very regimented. What's an average day of eating for you, say in off season, because that's where you are now, correct?
Yeah, I try to get down about 600 grams total of rice. That's uncooked, so I don't even want to know what it is cooked.
Uncooked.
Yeah.
Holy shit. That's a fucking, it could feed fucking China. That's a lot of rice, brother.
It's a lot. It's a whole lot. And then,
Jesus Christ. No wonder you talk about how it's hard time getting all the food in. God damn.
Yeah, I know how much that rice that is. I'm very familiar with how much
That's
rice
a lot of rice.
That's a lot of rice. I eat like that, but yeah, that's a lot of rice.
It takes a while to get down. And then it's about a pound and a half of chicken breast or ground beef, like kind of mix that one up. So that's like, if I can get all that down, I'm pretty good. It's all, like also 4 eggs, cup and a half of egg whites, 8 slices of bread, 2 bananas.
You got it down to the T, literally to the T.
2 bagels, and then There's another meal in there. And then there's like one serving of fats with every
The
meal.
cream of rice.
No, well, I count that with the regular.
Oh, okay.
So now that we see how regimented you are, and Brittany chimed in a little while ago, said we ate ice cream for the first time. How did that make you feel? Because I've been in that situation where a female will get me to come off my groove, and I'm eating it going, yeah, this is good. On the inside, I'm going, you fucking pussy, you gave in. What were you thinking when you were eating ice cream?
Well, I mean, it's off season, right? The goal is to gain weight, which I've been struggling with. So it's not like it doesn't feel one way or the other. It's like I'm just so sick of eating that nothing really tastes good. That's what sucks.
Yeah.
It's like you can have a cheat meal. It's gonna help you if anything because you're getting more calories in. But it's like I'm sitting there eating this and not even enjoying it because I've been eating all day long and I just want to not eat. That's the hard part.
That's for sure. When you look at food and it becomes a major job, that's a hard place to be.
It really is. Yep.
So Brittany, let's hear about you. What's diet like for you?
So I have to be careful because I gain muscle really, really easily. And so I actually have to say,
hold on. Let's break one more time. This is
You're about to get so much hate, girl.
I was going to say, our listeners right now are going, these two are really pissing me off.
I've been like that my whole life, though. Like, it's tough, right? Because I love to work out. Like, I could work out all day and eat all day if it were up to me. But I would definitely be like a 220-pound like bodybuilder, and I want to stay in women's physique, and I also want to stay around my weight class for a middleweight Strongwoman. So I stay pretty low protein. I'm between like 160 and 180 grams right now, and I've gotten as low in physique prep as 110 grams a day for weeks at a time. So it's hard because I'm kind of always hungry, even in off season. Like I can always eat. So I'm jealous when Ben talks about force feeding. Very foreign concept to me.
So how do you? Yes, I can totally understand where you're coming from. That it's like something you've never experienced before. So let's talk about prep for you. How is prep for you?
For when for physique.
Yeah. Forgive me.
I love it. It's hard, but I love it. Actually, Ben and I were having this conversation on Friday. How he was saying like, oh, I think bodybuilding prep is hard for you and easy for me. Because it is, he said, it's easy for him. For me, no, I have to do like 2 hours of cardio. I'm starving all the time, but I love it. It's easier than a strength sport in the sense of like not getting hurt and seeing your body. You get instant gratification pretty much every couple hours in physique. Yeah.
Well, this actually is quite interesting because the fact that, one of like Ben, it's easier for you and more difficult, Brittany, for you, it's probably going to work out really well when you guys go into, if you guys ever go into preps together. Like my wife and I, we've done some preps together, and there's been some sticky moments in those preps for sure. Yeah, because see, she's one of these, and I say this to her face, so I'm not talking about her back. I say, God damn it, I call her. It's like she pisses me off, and she's like this bitch, and I say with love, she's my badass bitch. I mean, fuck, at 15 years old, she would have kicked my ass. She had abs. She just had the genetics up for it. So she can actually diet and get in shape very easily. But it's just kind of like she doesn't have to do much. So I'm the flip side. I'm like you, Brittany. I got to do everything to get in shape. Ben and my wife they just kind of look at a fucking stationary bike and they start getting ripped, So do you guys have plans to do any prep for obviously bodybuilding or physique at the same time?
We've been going back and forth about this. Has been really hard for us because we both are really, really like itching and antsy to compete. It's been about almost a year for you. Yeah, he won his pro card in July, so almost a full year, and I competed in September. So probably the longest time in both of our careers. And so we're trying to move. That's kind of first on the priority list. But, I think that Ben and I we want to be lifelong athletes. So we try to be intelligent about everything that we do because we all know what goes into, different sports, especially when you want to excel in strength and bodybuilding. It's a tough balance. So we don't have anything on the table yet. We talk about this almost every day together because we're going a little crazy.
No, that is a really tough balance. Like myself, I had them separated, so I never did them both at the same time. But doing them at the same time, it's a much different balancing act, for sure. The fact that you guys can do it and you're together makes it this much more exciting. I'm really excited to watch both of you guys get on stage next time.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks.
I have a question.
Yeah, fire away, brother. That's good shit.
When the difference between bodybuilding and training for strength, the weights and the rep schemes are usually very different. How do you guys deal with that? And what's the difference in those? Because a lot of people just don't understand the type of training for bodybuilding and the type of training for powerlifting or strongman, strongwoman. Can you explain that a little bit since you do them both?
So I think you nailed it. You should say exercise versus training.
Say what?
Exercise versus training.
Oh, yeah.
He has a great analogy that I like.
Well, yeah. So, like, from a kind of just high level standpoint, bodybuilding training feels more like exercising, right? Where there's not, if you don't hit a specific weight or number of reps, or it's not really the end of the world. You can push yourself in other ways. So there's that big mental difference that for me, it's like, I like that adrenaline rush of, oh, I could destroy myself at this weight. Like I could, get hurt or like whatever. So it's a little bit more boring for me in that regard, but it's challenging in a different way because the type of focus that it takes to maintain a pump really throughout the entire course of a session is a challenge in itself. And I like that. So I can get on board from the mental side of either one. I think from a more of a practical standpoint, if you're trying to train for both, the difficulty is, even though they can be complementary, you have to structure the sessions so differently that I don't think you can do them literally at the same time. So I've had the most success when I separate, and still do them both in the course of a week, but separate my hypertrophy work from my strength work. I can focus on each one a little bit more individually and still get very good results for both.
That you said something that's really interesting there. You said when you do them both in the same week. So talk to us about that, because that's taking two very different types of training and merging them in a small time frame. And I know our listeners would love to hear some of this. Okay,
sure. So I think there's two skills that you need to learn if you want to do both at the same time. The first is how to manage your nutrition. And I think that one's kind of obvious. Like everybody's going to the gym like on an empty stomach, having eaten for hours, they get no pump, like it feels shitty, they're out of energy, like it goes very poorly. So if you want to train for any sort of hypertrophy work, you at least have to know your nutritional needs enough to be able to go into a session being pretty well fueled. If you go into that session and you're well fueled, but you start off with a bunch of heavy work, by the time that heavy work's done, you're going to be depleted and tired and everything. And if you try and do your pump work after that, you're going to get the same result as if you had gone in not having eaten, right? Like you're still going to be flat and tired and not get much out of it. So you have to separate the sessions just because of those nutritional needs. The flip side, you can do your heavy stuff after the light stuff, but then you're tired for the heavy stuff. You can't lift as heavy. So they need to be separated out. I also think to the vast majority of people, you can't ignore the strength stuff completely because I think it takes a different type of mental toughness that carries over very well. But B, when you're doing the strength work, your technique needs to be so dialed in that, and if it's not, you're not going to be able to lift the weight, right? You might have the muscles that you need to bench 500 pounds, but if your bench technique is shit, you're probably going to struggle with 400. Yeah. So doing that strength work forces you to kind of dial in the technique, dial in the movement patterns, and learn how to control your body in a way where even when you get to weights that are near maximal, you don't break down in terms of technique. You can do that with the hypertrophy work, but it's different when it's such high rep. It doesn't take the same amount of focus and it doesn't take the same amount of muscular control, honestly, to maintain your technique at the end of a set of 20 reps lateral raises as it does for a max effort squat. So you're going to learn that ability to maintain technique under pressure from the strength stuff. So you can separate the workouts out like that. The exact structure of it, I don't think is super important. I think for most people, you can really look at it very similar to the way a lot of people structure conjugate training, right? Where you have speed work and then you have your max effort work. Well, instead of that, you can just have your hypertrophy work and your strength work, and they're going to be complementary purely from a training perspective. But then you need to make sure that you have your nutrition in line. You need to make sure you have your programming in line too, so that like you're not doing a whole bunch of chest work the day before a heavy bench session. You're not doing a whole bunch of, hamstring work the day before heavy squats. But I've done, I think when I was in Taylor, my training partner Taylor, and I went to Tampa for 6 weeks to train at MI40 before USA's. We were training. We had 7 or 8 sessions a week. So just a typical bro split where you're doing chest and shoulders, back, legs, and arms for bodybuilding sessions. And then after back day, we would go to the gym later and we would have a heavy bench session. We'd do that again after arm day, we'd have another heavy bench session. Before legs, we would do our heavy squats. And then after, I can't remember the other day, but then we'd have a separate day for deadlifts, right? So we still had 2 traditional kind of training splits. We just kind of crammed them into 1 week and arranged the days such that they didn't overlap too much. And that worked really well.
Interesting. Brittany, do you kind of hybrid the different training styles too, or do you separate them, or do you not combine them in the same week?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So bodybuilding, I committed to trying to actually train like a bodybuilder, and it has been the hardest thing for me to wrap my head around because so I'll kind of go back. So how I trained for Strongman was a lot different than most competitors, and a lot of people thought I was doing too much like hypertrophy and too much endurance training. But the way I look at it for Strongman, it's like, yeah, you need to hit these heavy lifts, but you also have a lot of max distance, you have max reps, and you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I kind of always trained for Strongman a little bit different, which is how I actually got into bodybuilding. Was I was training with a few different people, and they were like, wow, you train like a bodybuilder. I'm like, oh, well, you didn't see my actual training session. These are just my accessories that I like to maybe add a little bit too much. So for me right now, I'm actually kind of dealing with a little bit of an injury. So it's been like a blessing in disguise because I'm learning to not train as hard. Actually, since I moved here, I feel like I've been on like an extended deload, and it's been amazing to me that my physique actually, like, I'm actually growing. And yeah, I'm putting a little bit of fat on, but I know that's part of the process and like what needs to be done. Because if it were up to me, and I think when I retire, I want to be one of those people that's athletic, lean. I want to be able to go run a mile in 7 minutes. I want to be able to squat 315 all the time. Like, I want to be able to kind of do everything. But obviously with bodybuilding, like, you can't do that because you'll crash and burn and not, build. Literally, it's bodybuilding, right? So you need to build up to it.
Yeah. So do you guys, in terms of, clearly you've been together for a fairly short period of time, but you've had a lot of background in terms of development by yourselves. Do you guys kind of, how do you deal with, you guys like talk with each other about how you do things, or you kind of just, I'm doing this to keep things nice and simple? How does that work with you guys? Like, for example, my wife and I, if we're going to train at the same time, she's on the other side of the goddamn building. There's no, I might ask her for a spot or vice versa, but there's no input on me telling her what's going on in her workout. How is it for you guys?
We do a little bit of both. I think that, again, right now, because we don't have like very clear, like, we're doing a show this date, it's really challenging to go in and do off-season workouts, especially when you don't have specific numbers to hit. So I think our biggest priority is just make sure we each feel like we got some valuable training in. But we've been trying to do posing together, like putting each other through rounds. And we've done some other types of, like, we've been doing ab work together, which is helpful for me because I would always rather skip abs. Stuff like that.
Yeah. And he helps me a lot too, with the powerlifting background too, in terms of like, because, and I'll be the first to admit, like, strongman, like, I love squatting, benching, and deadlifting, but obviously, like, Ben's the one, he's been dissecting my technique, which makes me actually really want to go back to strength sports because it's helped a lot immensely. Like, he really opened up my stance for deadlift, working on how I haven't been bracing properly for years, because in strongman, it's like, you just do what you got to do, where powerlifting is so, like, you have to do everything perfect. But other than that, he's been helping me. Unfortunately, like, he does rear delts a lot, and I do hamstrings a lot. And I wish I could train arms as much as him because it's fun. But like I said earlier, mine would just, I would have huge, even bigger arms than I already do now. So I kind of like skip out on some stuff that he does.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you guys have kind of a good little mesh of, working together, helping each other, and, in ways that's productive for your training and your relationship. So more power to you. Great job, guys.
Yeah.
The question will be, in a decade, if you guys are still sitting next to each other on the couch here, we'll have to have you back in a decade if you guys are still together and have the same conversation, because time tends to change this equation quite a bit. Wouldn't you say, Nick?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember in the beginning, oh, it's so fun to go get a workout. There's like, with my wife, and it was, you can, oh yeah, we'll do this, we'll do that. Now it's like, no, I'm doing this, period. You want to do that? I'm doing this, So it's cool.
It's funny you say that because it's funny you say that because I've lived alone for 4 years with just me and my dog. And then I came here and I don't have anyone. And we like literally work together, have to train together. So we haven't fought that bad, really. I mean, actually. So yeah.
That's
so it'll
good.
be, yeah, when we move and we have a little more space, and that'll actually make our training better.
That's good. Yeah,
Well,
Callie does CrossFit now, so it's like
I saw that.
Yeah, the training differences between the two of us are very different now. So but she'll still come in and call my depth in the squat, and she'll still come in and help me get my head right when I'm trying to squat super heavy, or like I did 660 for 7 this week on the squats. And
I saw that. What are you training for?
There's a Masters Clash. And it's going to be 660 for reps as the first event on the squats.
So they didn't learn from the last event that the spotters have to do so much work on that the squat to pins that they're just going to do it again.
Yeah. They're going to do that again. And then they have a 13-inch deadlift with 700 pounds for reps, 275 axle clean and press for reps, a 850 yoke down and back, a 310 farmers, 50 feet down, 50 feet back, and 50 feet down again. And then a sandbag medley. So and he wants to do it all in about 2.5 hours.
Oh,
and when is it?
July 23rd.
July.
Awesome.
Where is it?
I'm bummed, man.
It's in Columbia, Missouri.
Yeah,
So
Chad called and asked if I could come and do the announcing with niece, but we've got a family vacation. We've already got our place in Tahoe. We're going to be at a 2-week stretch. It's right in the middle of our time in Tahoe. So it was like, I was bummed. I'll have to make sure years in the future that doesn't happen, but that would have been.
So it's going to be
cool.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting. So she's doing CrossFit and I'm getting ready for that. So she comes in and helps me get my head right when I got to pull the reps, or I got to squat the reps. Yeah.
Well, you guys have so much in common, and this is just me. Obviously, been in a relationship with another Nick. You could kind of attest to the same thing. You guys have so much in common. When the time comes when you do have where you cross with each other, you're frustrated with each other, it's just circumstantial shit that will blow away. Because when all the dust settles, you guys really have the most important thing is that you guys love the same shit. And, to find another person on the planet that is like that and you're attracted to and you get along with, I mean, Ben, you did a pretty damn good job getting in the DMs and getting where you needed to be, brother.
He was smart. If anyone's listening, don't do heart emojis. He was smart. He said something about my squat.
Oh, well, so this is good. So for our listeners that are trying to,
I don't know
what is a fart emoji?
No heart emojis, because people can be very sketchy on Instagram. Yeah, no heart emojis, no fire emojis. Yeah, he said something about my squat, and I was like, oh, cool. All right.
So this is good. So Brittany, because there's plenty of dudes that try to make a move on a female on Instagram. So give them a quick tutorial. What are they not supposed to be doing? You said no emojis. What type of what was it that made you be open to Ben's DM conversation? Obviously, you said something about your squats. There's helpful information there.
Yeah, he said that requires a lot of mental toughness, and I was like, well, I was failing the squat, so not really, but okay. But no, it was actually one of his posts I read. It was right after he won his pro card, and it said he was now, I quote, pound for
Oh,
pound.
don't quote that.
Pound for pound. He was like, basically he was saying that he was one of the strongest bodybuilders. And I was like, well, that's my goal too, because I didn't like how there was a separation in sports. You know, I think that it's getting better. Now there's a few people that have crossed over, but I thought that was really.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, are they?
they're
Nick, you're
froze.
still here.
they're
They'll come
froze.
back. Just give it a second.
Yeah.
This will be really helpful. All of our men that are trying to think of how they can put a move on Instagram. Brittany's giving them the inside scoop here. How long are they going to be froze here?
I don't know. Makes me sad.
They'll come back hopefully. Well, it won't be too long.
Oh, they were so much fun to hang out with and train with. We got
There
Ben.
we go.
Yeah, so
There we go.
My phone overheated.
yeah, her phone shut down.
Oh, look at that.
okay.
Look how fast you guys were back. This is
Wow.
good. That's holy shit.
Yeah,
That's good stuff. So we'll just go right back to the question. So ultimately,
I don't know, I guess.
What
So
was the
Brittany,
question? I forgot already.
Brittany, you were basically giving all of our male listeners
A tutorial.
a tutorial on how to put a move on somebody on Instagram and have it work, I should say.
So basically just use your brain. Don't, every girl is getting, compliments on what she looks like. Like, be smart. Like, say something about, if she's passionate about squats, Ben was smart. Ben clearly knew I like to squat, so he said something about it. And he asked good questions.
So it was conversation with some substance that actually
Yes,
interested you.
Exactly.
Not
I
just
literally said that to him. Yeah,
Not just some bar compliment, boy, you look good, honey, or some crap like
exactly.
that. Okay, so everybody listening, if you're trying to put a move on somebody on the Instagram, you heard it. This is what you got to do. You know what not to do, and you know what to do. And you're hearing it from a high-powered couple here. So, Ben, good job. And for all those of you that were getting ready to send a DM with some terrible compliment at someone's ass, don't push send. So, I love it. So, Ben, let's go a little deeper into this. So, you basically, clearly, you were like, this chick, this lady, whatever you were thinking, has a lot that interests me, right? You guys have so much in common. Did it come down to think, man, I want to get to know this girl? Is it that simple?
Honestly,
Brittany's shaking her head.
she moved all the way across the country. I'm like, well, she'll be fun to talk to, whatever. Like, I really didn't think anything would come of it. And yeah, I did want to learn about stones. I was thinking about doing that Strongman show with Taylor, and I was like, oh, she can tell me how to do these, and it could be fun to talk. But I was like, I wasn't gonna fly across the country to meet somebody, but she was like really into it. And like a weekend, she's like, so are you ever gonna meet me in real life? Because I don't just text for fun. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
Well, but if you break that down, that's for let's leave gender out of it. That's a person who's basically is about action. Let's not just waste time with
what I said.
going back and forth. It's like, if we're gonna do this, let's do this. It's either on or off, right?
Yeah, she's like, sorry, I'm really direct. I'm like, no, that's good. That way I don't have to make it. I don't have to guess. I'm not playing games.
Yeah,
You know right where you stand.
Exactly.
That is music to a male's ears when this say being direct, because that's the worst thing when you're trying to have a conversation and you want to be direct, but you're afraid to be direct, and a female gives you the green light. That's perfect. So that worked. This has all happened for the right reason. You guys are a cool couple. I can see this relationship going in a lot of fun directions as time moves forward. So we're going to definitely have to have you guys come back on in say a year and see where everything is led,
A year and then again in 10 years.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Well, if you guys keep doing what you're doing, we'll probably have you back on, every
Several
so often
times
because,
before
yeah,
that,
because you guys are going to always have some interesting shit to talk about. So, okay. So what would you guys since we're on the couple stuff, so what would you guys, in terms of, there are all sorts of couples all over the planet for that matter, USA especially, that look at you guys and they're trying to become what you guys are in terms of a couple that are trying to get to an elite level. What advice would you give to that couple?
Oh gosh.
Like they're athletic? Like, what do you mean by that?
So you got couples that are both involved in what you guys are doing, but they're trying to get where you are. So I understand from a couple standpoint, you guys only have 4 months of advice to give, but what would you guys say in terms of what advice would you give to those that are trying to get where you are?
No, I think I get it. So for me, and at least until recently, up until I did get that pro card, I was always really focused on the end goal, and that was the most important thing to me. And like, I think you guys both mentioned, you know, when you have to make sacrifices because you have other shit going on in your lives, whether it's relationship or something else, it feels like, okay, it's kind of taken away from my goal where I want to end up. And I mean, honestly, I think to some extent that mindset is helpful because it ensures that you're going to stay focused. But at the same time, it takes a lot of the fun out of it. And once you get there, it's like you're not going to be satisfied. If you're in any one of these sports, you're never going to be satisfied with where you get. You're always going to want more. You're always going to want to be able to keep doing it or have the next competition is going to sound like fun. So it's not like there's really any actual end. And I think if you can look at it that way and just kind of slow down a little bit and enjoy this sounds, I don't even want to say this because it sounds so fucking corny, but like enjoy the process. It will, no matter what the results are, I think you'll have a better time of it. And I do think you'll get better results because if you fucking hate your life just to get to the end goal, you can't push to the same level as if you really enjoy it.
I think that's great advice, brother. That's extremely good advice. Brittany, what would you say?
No, I agree. And again, not to sound cliche, but like when you make it a lifestyle, right? Because I know a lot of competitors that will be at the top of their game, win everything for years, and then just kind of fall off and like stop doing everything. But I try, for me, every day, like I try to think of when I'm going to the gym, even if I'm not doing a workout that I don't particularly love, I try to think of like one thing that I'll be excited for. I try to look back at my notes and look back at like, oh, wow, like I only benched 205, but you know, 2 years ago, I couldn't have done this after I, you know, did shoulders the day before or something like that. Like I just try to rewire my brain so that I'm still excited about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. So let's talk about inspirations. You guys, I'm sure, have had at least an inspiration, maybe two along the way. Who have your inspirations been?
Okay. So I think Dan Green was my first one.
Savage.
He was the first person I saw. I was like, oh, I want to look and lift like that. And then Dave Tate was another big one. The funny story about this shirt, I actually got this in undergrad. That was, oh God, it was a very long time ago. I graduated in 2009. So got this shirt in undergrad. They were having a big sale. It's Elite FTS. It says extra medium on it. And it's a 3X, and I bought it. It would have been my junior year, so I probably weighed like $190, something like that. And so this shirt was like a fucking bed sheet on me. I was like, I'm gonna grow into this shirt, and it took me. But you know, it's cool because Elite FTS was one of the very few sources of information on training back then, and they were also one of my very first sponsors. So Dave's always been a really good mentor to me, and when I think about, okay, what do I still want to accomplish? A lot of that goes back to kind of like the live, learn, pass on motto that they have. I think resonates a lot. So I'd say those two guys.
Yeah, right on. What about you, Brittany?
I would say mine. So growing up, I read her biography probably once a month. FloJo, who sprinter.
Oh my God, yeah. She was. I mean, she inspired me too. You know.
So yeah, she actually almost got her gold medal taken away in 92, I believe, in Barcelona because her nails were too long and the way she dressed. And I always like cared about clothes and things like that. And I kind of got a lot of shit when I was first competing for how I looked. Like, why are you wearing makeup when you compete? And now it's totally different. Like now all the girls, you know, pretty much wear makeup and stuff, but I got a lot of shit for that. So she was a huge
Brittany, because you are a badass bitch, and I mean that in the best way. And that's what the sport needs. It needs badass bitches in there, lifting heavy shit, looking sexy. That's exactly what you should be doing, and I love it. Keep it up, man. You're doing a great
I just see
job.
it as a way to express yourself too, more than
hell
just
yes.
So her, and then Eric Dawson, who owns Titan Barbell, who's a pro strongman, and he told me right when I was first getting into training, he told me that none of this shit matters if you're not a good person. And he said there's a lot of shitty people in this world. Don't be one of them. And his mentality at the gym was like, you can always work harder. You're never going to be the strongest. And that just was kind of how that was like my training environment. So I really looked up to that.
Yeah, that's really cool. Really cool. Yeah, no, I think the whole idea, like what you said when you started off, you know, focusing on, you know, obviously being a great athlete, but doing it with some swag and looking good and wearing your makeup, that's just you. That's your form of expression. You're happier doing what you do that way, and I fucking love it. So I think the fact that you helped kind of that movement open that up for more people, more ladies like yourself, my hat's off to you. That's good shit. So keep it up. Keep that up. I love it. So, okay. So let's go into, if you guys got to jump in a time machine, obviously this would be separate because you, as a couple, you'd lose track of each other 4 months ago. So Ben, you get in a time machine, you can go back to any part of your life and you get to give your young self one piece of advice. What would it be?
Ooh. That's a good question.
Yeah, that is a good question. Let's see.
What would you say?
Brittany, you're going to have the same question. So if you've already got it, you can take Ben off the fire. Answer.
Yeah, you
answer first.
I would tell myself, because I constantly try to remind myself of this, to stop rushing for the next big thing, because I always have been very goal oriented. I've always like written down what I want to happen by X date. I still do that. And it's tough because I feel like it takes away from appreciating like the little things, like, you know, like enjoying your workout, or when you have a client that does something awesome, or even like things like this, you know, this is like forcing me, I'm not going to lie, like doing a podcast might stress me out a little bit sometimes. I'm like, all right, I gotta, you know, my cream of rice that I haven't eaten yet, it's over there. I'm starving. I'm thinking about that. And, you know, I did my workout a little bit earlier than usual, cut it a little bit short. So, but just, yeah, stop rushing everything, trying to be more present. I would have told myself when I was chasing my pro card for Strongman, that's all I cared about. Yeah.
You know, on that level, sometimes the things that force you out of your groove a little bit are far more helpful than we realize at the time. You know, I would have to, that's something I would tell myself as well, because I sometimes get too focused on the rhythm. Sometimes the pattern, the rhythms that I live by, they can also sometimes become almost like my own prison walls. That makes sense. Sometimes something breaking me out of my rhythm a little bit is actually really productive. So I totally understand where you're coming from.
Yep.
Ben?
Okay,
brother.
Yeah, I got a good answer. So I was in the Stark Center is the name of the place where I worked at Texas. And there was a visiting scholar who was actually a journalist. And he was very interested in jumping, particularly dunk a basketball. That's what he wanted to learn about. And so this is like this skinny-ass white dude, nerdy academic guy who wants to learn to dunk a basketball. So he comes to the Stark Center to get advice on training for jumping. And so he's interviewing people around the center, and he sits down with me and we talk. And he's talking about his trainer at Gold's Gym and how it doesn't push him very hard. And he starts asking me about my training and, you know, what it means to me and everything. And at the time, this was, you know, before I touched any sort of PED. I had recently competed at USAPL Raw Nationals and deadlifted 700 pounds, and I finished second. This was at 181, and I was, you know, feeling really good about what I accomplished. So I was still right in the middle of my academic work. It's like, you know what? I've done a really good job as a powerlifter. I'm, you know, doing a really good job on my PhD. I'm probably going to get a good job after I finish. Like, just felt like I really had my life together. And I told him, you know, it's like, I love this stuff. Like, I love the shit out of it. But, like, if I couldn't do it, that would be okay. Like, I have all these other things that, like, I'm really interested in. And he gives me this weird look, and he's like, I don't believe that. I don't believe that you could just, like, walk away from this. And I was like, well, yeah, I'm pretty sure I could. So if I had that time machine, I would go back, and I would tell myself to remember that, because a couple years later, when I did graduate, I decided not to go work in academia. I decided to work for myself and start coaching and competing full time. And for a little while, I lost that. I lost that, kind of diversity in my life, and the fact that if you took training away, I would still have plenty of other stuff that I was focused on and interested in, passionate pursuing. So I kind of got back there to some degree. Training's still like a huge part of my life. But I think had I just remembered that at that time when I decided not to get an academic job, I think I could have saved myself a lot of stress and probably achieved more athletically too.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Absolutely. Ben, some of the things you talk about, you seem like an extremely smart dude, like way smarter than we're getting a grip on here.
Oh, I don't know. That's true.
Yeah. Air him out, Brittany. Air him out. Play him out.
They're also very humble.
Why don't you tell me where my wallet was this weekend?
Oh, well, okay. Yeah, exactly. He's so smart. He can't do simple things that drive me absolutely crazy. Like this past Saturday, we were going to the Rainier Classic. We had an Airbnb. Both of us to function properly need to train after a rest day just to like function around a lot of humans. So we plan to go to the gym. Ben can't find his wallet anywhere. So I'm like, you know what, just get in the car. I'll deal with it later because I knew I was going to find it.
I'm freaking out because I need a wallet. Like you can't not have ID and credit card. And I'm like, we're only 3 hours from home, but still it's like, that's going to be a pain in the ass to replace and we're moving at the end of the month.
Yep.
So anyways,
long story short, we went to the gym. He found his wallet. It was in his cooler inside an empty Tupperware.
It wasn't empty, actually. It was kind of gross.
Oh, why didn't you tell me that part?
Well, no.
Well, they say that all of the smartest people on the planet, they're really, they have all of this extra shit over here, but then like Einstein, he walk around with his goddamn fly open all the time. So you got a little of the Einstein effect.
That's where part of our relationship because he's really smart. I'm just normal, but I'm very organized, right? And so I feel like Ben functions a little bit differently than me. So that's been challenging.
So Ben, the tests that you take coming out of high school, going into college, there's the SAT and the ACT. What did you score on those?
I got a 1580 on my SAT.
Yeah, he's smart.
No, like that.
Okay.
So I took it the first time, and the results come back, and my mom looks at it and goes, "Oh, they must have scored it wrong. You got to do it again." I'm like, God damn it! So I went to go do it again. Of course, it's after a football game, and I'm tired. I take the thing again, and she gets the results the second time, and she goes, I guess the first one wasn't a mistake after all. So a 1580. What's the fucking maximum score on that test?
It was
like 1600.
And yeah, it's different now.
Jesus Christ, that's insane. Well, that tells the tale right there. Wow, very cool, smart. I mean, I got to tell you, you guys are one hell of a cool couple. This has been really fun talking with you guys. I know that you got busy lives to get to. Brittany, you're looking at that cream of rice you're ready to eat. So I got one more question for you guys before we cut you loose. But here again, we will have you back because you guys are cool as shit. So you guys have already made this huge impact on what you're doing athletically. So the question is, when that's all gone, what do you want to be remembered for?
Can we talk about this the other day?
Yeah, is this as a couple or is this individual?
Oh, no. Well, I mean, if we have this conversation, if we have another show in 10 years and you guys are still together, that will be part of the question. But right now, This is individual.
Okay.
So whichever one of you wants to go first.
Am I go first? Yeah, so we actually it's funny because all these questions, like Ben and I have really good conversations. We talk about this, and I was telling him that the other day, like, yeah, I'm really proud of everything I've done athletically, but if I were to like die tomorrow, if I could know that I helped more women, honestly, like get under heavy weight, because I see what that does for their life. Like I see them leave abusive relationships, not be afraid to stab, like go after anything alone. So if I could help more women just show what strength can do, honestly, for their quality of life, then I would die happy. So
totally awesome. No, and that's I mean, of all the things that you could be remembered for, something like that's changing lives. That's really cool. So that's I love it. Ben, you got a big follow up on this one, brother. You have to swing for the fence now. She put a big one on the table.
No, I think mine's a lot smaller. It's just So like I talked about that story about the journalist with the jumping thing, and I talked about Dave Tate and how he's helped me with stuff. Like I would just like, I'd like to be able to help people just answer little questions like that, just on an individual basis. Nothing like, I've had like enough social media experience to know like that's not going to be super fulfilling for me, like to have millions of followers or be remembered as some like celebrity or anything. But like, I've also struggled enough with those sorts of questions that like if I can help people figure them out while they're really dealing with them, that would feel good.
Yeah. Awesome. And I love it because both of you guys, the root of both your answers is about, you know, changing people's lives in a positive way. And that's fucking cool, man.
Well, that's actually one more story I have, and then we can stop. So
please.
That's why I really liked Ben, because we were having conversations. And one time he asked me, I can't remember how we got to it, but something about, and we were newly talking, if I had any cool client stories. I think that was the question. And he was telling me, yeah, we exchanged stories, and he basically talked about a guy that, you know, didn't really have any background, and then I can't remember his numbers, but he powerlifting.
Oh, Nick, yeah.
Nick, yeah. So, and then I had a story about how like a mom emailed me. So when he said that, because usually when you talk to people about clients, they'll start off with something negative, like a funny negative story. He said something positive, and that, like, I was like, okay, he really loves what he does, which is really important to me. So that was cool. So yeah, just a little story on the side.
I like it. And hearing you guys talk amongst you, you know, literally as a couple is really fun because again, it's, you guys are these huge figures individually, but to hear you guys interact as a couple is a dimension that people are going to be very interested in. And we really thank you for sharing, you know? Yeah. So, thanks and again, thanks for coming on. We're going to definitely have you on the show again. Obviously, if you guys continue what you're doing, hell, we might be doing an annual thing, which would be a lot of fun, as long as you guys agree to it. So, yeah.
Thank you, John. Nick, we'll see you soon.
Yes, you will. It'll be good to see you.
There you have it, everyone. There's another edition of Legends of Iron. We have got one serious dynamic duo here for you. As a show, as a whole, we're always here to inspire you and help you become the best version of yourself. And if these two did not help you do that, I don't know what will. We'll see you next time.
Legends of Iron is brought to you by Muscle Mix.
Damn, man. Can't even enjoy my workout, man. Yo, bro, what's wrong with you, man? What's wrong with you, bro? What's on your hold on, man? No, you need beef, bro. You need beef, man. Why? What do you mean, why? What's wrong with you? Come on, yo, that weird protein gonna have you going to the bathroom, man. You gonna mess up your stomach, man. This is lactose free, man. Come on, champ. Beef build muscle, bro. Drink it out, man. You gonna mess up yourself, man.
I'm gonna try this. I'm trusting you.
Take that, man.
Thank you.
Messing up my workout. Beef it up with carnivore, beef protein, isolate, 23 grams of protein, 0 fat, 0 sugar, 0 lactose. What you waiting for? Beef it up.